joining me on the show and going to dig into the gold and silver markets today. So, Kevin, welcome. It's great to have you here. A beautiful backdrop of Vancouver you have there.
Oh, Chris, thanks so much for having me. And yeah, we're here in beautiful BC.
Yeah, and I think something that's on anyone who's watching this, it's on my mind. But here we are on Tuesday. I mean, I don't know, they don't remind you as much about this part, but I think it's appropriate to say we're in the middle of a hyperinflation campaign when the numbers the government gives out, I keep hearing these headlines, 40% of the dollars in existence were printed in the last year, and who knows how much they're really printing. So wild times, and yet here we have today, the price of silver dropped, it was over $27. One point, wow, is almost 80 cents a dollar. And then we have the gold market. And I think a lot of people are confused because they see, gold and silver are actually lower than they were almost, it was like July last year when that rally started, while the money printing has been getting out of control. And curious if you have any thoughts, and what are the investors and the different people you talk with in Vancouver, what are they saying, and what do you think?
Well, from my perspective, it's pretty clear that until the central bankers and big bankers get off their short position, we're not allowed to go through $1,800 gold and $27 silver. It seems like every time we get up to those numbers, mysteriously, you look at the 5-minute chart, mysteriously all of a sudden this massive sell pressure comes, seems to bounce back a little bit, have some life, then massive sell pressure again. From my perspective, it's pretty clear. There's a lot of manipulation. In saying that, I don't know how long they can hold it down for. I think this is more just a strategy of how do they rotate out of those shorts, and then as soon as they've accomplished that and get into their long position, we feel that there's a lot of upside on gold. So it's a matter of just they're going to shake out weak hands, in my opinion, and the ones who remain strong and are left over, I think, are going to be rewarded handsomely. It's been a tough 9 months, but all in all, if you look at the gold market in the past, 12 to 18 months, I think we're in a great place here. And I think we just got to hang around a little bit longer, and we're all going to be rewarded really well.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, Kevin. You phrased it well and matches my experience on Wall Street because, I don't know, a decade or so detoxed away from that. Here we have gold, I don't know, let's call it 1769, 1770. And then today it's actually only $7 higher. So just imagine if you had taken a nap or hit the beach for a couple of days, you would have thought nothing happened, but it's these volatile moves. I've sat here detailing a lot of the evidence of when you can see the banker transcripts. They talk about, Deutsche Bank, they actually had a strategy they called the muscle and blade. And apparently when they employed it, you can look at the day they talked about it, see price moves like this. And I think that's what, the Wall Street machine it's really only had one trick forever. And, that's what happens. Like you said, there's a lot of volatility. People don't know what's going on because a lot of them are told anything, but in the end of the day, like you said, if you have your ounce of gold and silver, if you have the shares of companies that you feel you like the management and can weather the storm, I don't know, maybe gold will finally move this year. Maybe it'll be next year or the year after. But as long as they can stay in business, a lot of these companies are still doing pretty well even at these levels, despite it being down $20 today.
Yeah, and I think that, again, that's just short-term pain for long-term gain. Everything I'm seeing out of the chart, it looks like we've bottomed. We're going to have a lot of resistance at 1,800, in my opinion, because I think once it clears 1,800, it's going to shoot right up to 1,850 shortly thereafter. Maybe 1,860, we start to see it sort of battle a little bit again. But once we're clear through 1,800, in my opinion, I think the bull's back on. And that's when this sector is going to get really exciting. But they're going to have to beat it down a little bit here to make sure they're positioned correctly. I think the banks are caught short right now. But with what's going on with the money printing, what's going on with inflation, you can only fight this so long as far as I'm concerned. And obviously, I'm in good company with you and your followers. So we're extremely bullish. We've got a high grade gold and silver deposit. The economics are strong at these prices, but we know that they're going to get even better once we break through some of the ceiling that's artificially being put on us right now.
Yeah, and Kevin, were you surprised how quickly gold went through $2,000 an ounce last year, and also that it came back down? I thought it was gonna, eventually gonna have to happen again, but it happened really quickly. Which I don't know. I know some people say if some things happen quickly, they're often reversed. Yet, were you surprised the way that all played out?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where it rocks you to sleep almost, and then out of nowhere, bam, one of these moves happen, right? And it's this downward trend that we're in right now. It's sort of just lulled everybody to sleep, and you've seen a lot of the weak hands get shaken out, and oh, I'm going over to crypto because that's hot right now. But really, I think this is one when Lawrence Lepard, a guy I follow, he always says, when the music stops, you want to make sure you have a chair. And kind of to your point of how quickly these moves happen, that's why we went out and got our gold project. We wanted to be something that we could get into production, because we feel like there's going to be an incredible opportunity to take advantage of some really impressive gold prices. I mean, the inflationary environment right now, who knows what it's going to cost to pull it out of the ground with, lumber going through the roof. Oil seems to be on an upward trend. The cost of everything's going up. Labor seems like it's going to be going up. But ultimately, I look at the long-term outlook of precious metals, and 60 ounces of gold bought you a house 60 years ago, and 60 ounces of gold buys you a house again today, right? Gold sort of just keeps you in the game when this inflation starts running hot. And I think it's going to be a great place for people to be to keep up with inflation. I mean, a lot of people have been caught up in sort of this tech craze and the equities run up, but those valuations are extremely stretched. And I feel like this sector is kind of the last one to really move. And when you look at the fundamentals of these business and how much cash is kicking off, I think there's a lot of excitement to come for not only precious metals holders, but also people who have exposure to the junior mining space.
I would agree with that. And Kevin, would you say that actually it could be maybe a matter of perspective, perhaps like many things in life, but today when the price is down, and I don't know, I guess there's all sorts of ways you could react. People could be upset, and it'd be understandable. I've had my decade of reacting like that. Or depending on one situation, let's say someone has an income or a business and they're earning money. I don't know. I think one of the things I found most helpful somewhere in the last year, it was a little challenging the years while I was figuring out how to get a business running, but now I don't know I find it hard to imagine that 20 years from now, silver will be $25 and gold will be 1,800. But if I'm thinking, hey, if I can do whatever I want to do in life, and I want to have like a big impact or leave something behind for my family for generations, I don't know. That's what helps me handle the days where, all right, it's frustrating. I can see there's a crime in process. That's fine. But you're getting that chance to buy more. And is that, I think that's almost the only way you can invest in this sector. It's like, I would almost say if somebody can't look at it like that, go get something that's hotter, because I don't know how else to do it. But I think if you're okay with that, then it's really great, because you don't have to think too much. It's like, hey, I know these guys know what they're doing. They position the company right, or you stack your gold and silver and you go enjoy life.
Exactly. Yeah. I think it's one of those things where you got to put together the plan. And once you've put together the plan that you like, you put your head down and you just keep executing. You just keep accumulating. When your salary affords you the opportunity to accumulate a little bit more physical or a little bit more whatever junior or mid-tier or major that you like, just keep scooping up a little bit, put your head down, let everybody have their fun with the psychedelic space and the tech space. And, they're making money right now. That's fine. But I think the real money, it's going to be a shock and awe campaign, frankly. And some people are going to, keep up with inflation. And some people are going to scream past the returns coming from the rest of these sectors. You look at history, when valuations get this stretched, when retail makes up this much of the volume in the major equities, the alarm bells got to start going off. I've heard a lot of this time's different. We can just keep printing money. Okay, that's fine. But, supply chains are going to get disrupted, in my opinion, with this CPI. You're not going to electrify the world without silver, and gold to that degree in some circumstances. And you're going to be forced to spend your money because it's evaporating. And why be forced to spend your money because then you're not consuming efficiently? Why not just strategically keep building your portfolio up in these precious metals and position yourself for the run up? That's our perspective on this. We were ridiculed a lot 2.5, 3 years ago when we started putting this business plan together. Like, why are you doing a gold deal? Nobody likes gold. Gold's not hot. Silver's not hot. And that's okay. That's why we got such a good deal on the asset, right? It was underappreciated. And we bought this project for $18 an ounce gold. It already had a resource on it. And, we feel like we got the deal of the century. And I think in the next 6 to 12 months, people who are bullish on gold and silver, just like we are going to be rewarded handsomely.
Well, I would say I used to agree when I was prone to such silly ideas, although I got to mention it, Kevin, because obviously that wouldn't be capturing today's momentum-driven buy high, sell low after it's already in a bubble ideology. And, again, I before I knew better, I agreed with you, but obviously that you would think alarm bells would be going off, yet the latest testimony from Jerome, as CNBC once accused him of being called the maestro. They actually passed the torch. I think I have a screenshot of it somewhere where they called Jerome Powell the maestro. I wonder if Greenspan was jealous or was like honored to be in the same company. Hard to know for sure, but it seems more that Jerome and the expert economists at the Federal Reserve that were all over the subprime bubble and every other catastrophe, they're more concerned about the low inflation pandemic that is sweeping the nation. And fortunately, Jerome, he's on it. He said he's ready to trigger up inflation if the inflation deficit persists. Though they can be those pernicious inflation deficits. So again, now I know you're coming from a little different perspective. You don't print paper and steal people's money for a living, so you might not be able to associate with what the Fed does. But since you have a company that, you're out mining for gold, so I would assume you use lumber or copper, any of those other like silly old-fashioned things. So what is your take on the how much on a scale of 1 to 10 do you sleep at all with the inflation deficit, or is it, you're able to get by, or how does that compare for your business?
Well, initially I was a little bit worried about it, but then when Yellen, calmed my fears and said, this is just transitory and there's nothing to be worried about, everything was fine.
The transitory
all
last
kidding
30
aside,
years.
it's a very serious thing for us. And that's why we want to get up into production so quickly. We want to incur those construction costs, before inflation runs any further than it already has. The cost of lumber obviously is going to be a big one. Cost of fuel is going to be another one. I see wage increasing quite a bit. So we have a budget to build the project. As far as the consumables that we need to build that project, we're watching the budget on that increase month after month. So, management we're very cognizant of that, and we're driving hard forward to get into production to try to mitigate as much as the inflation that we see coming down the line. And then obviously we're bullish on gold, so hopefully gold offsets that. But we need these bankers to get off of the artificial offer here in the synthetic markets. so we can get the physical price and the paper price a little bit closer together, because there's a major gap right now. I mean, you go to buy physical gold or silver and you're paying, I've seen 25, 30, 40% premiums from spot price if you want to actually buy it in what I call real life. But again, everybody just goes to a website to get the live gold price, and that seems to be what we follow. It doesn't seem to matter what you have to go and pay when you buy it from the bullion exchange. But I think that gap is going to narrow pretty quick here. Again, we keep challenging 1800, and I feel it's coming very quick. I even think in the next couple of weeks you're going to see it blow through 1800 up to 1860. But yeah, the inflation thing, back to constructing the project, it's very real, and it's hard to run a business when all these costs are increasing basically by the minute. We're constantly having to adjust, but we're still confident in our business plan. And what else can you do but keep driving forward? That's the beauty of the hidden tax that is inflation, right? You can't do much about it. You gotta keep living your life and move forward. And they know that. And I think that's why, they just keep printing.
Well, Kevin, with all that having a plan and business talk, you're gonna scare off all of the short-term treasury flippers. Although I don't think we have too many of those in our audience. So that won't be too much of a problem. In fact, I would thank you for scaring them off. In fact, although it's interesting, a few things you mentioned there, because in terms of gold going through 1800 or resistance, I'm wondering if you've heard of this. This is the kind of thing that I often find that a lot of people aren't aware of because they don't put it in the press release. But here is the the acting chairman of the CFTC, who on February 1st, just one day before silver fell 10% on the greatest single day of demand in history, Silver Tuesday, as it's known in my mind, and hopefully the world soon. So he started an investigation, and the next day the price got clobbered as the ETF set records. The LBMA bizarrely wrote a report saying they were weeks away from running out of silver. And in terms of the regulation of the market, check out this bad boy.
And in many respects, the resiliency and the market structure of the futures market really were able to tamp down what could have been a much worse situation in the silver market.
Which I thought was odd, because I thought regulators were supposed to regulate the market, not tamp it down. But do you think perhaps that could be what happens when gold gets to 1800? Maybe even the regulators have been condoning, or maybe it's just the market structure that you don't have, like in the equity world. If you want to short a stock, you need to locate a borrow, or you get at risk of getting popped on that. But since the CFTC does such a poor job of even attempting to regulate gold and silver, that's not needed. So maybe, I'm not sure if that's the market structure he was referring to that can just cap the price. He even talked later about taking action to control the price and volatility. Now, again, my background just includes 7 years duking it out on an option floor, which, I don't have his legal background, so what do I know? But sounds to me, at least from what I've read, sounds a lot more like price fixing. And I'm curious, just as someone that has overcome those challenges, because you talked about, your input costs are rising. So let's take that a step further. You have your bottom line, input costs go up. That means profit margin goes down. That's less that you guys can do, more money that's going to the system, which what's that going to do for the supply of metals? Is going to go down when they're getting caught on a short squeeze in the middle of a hyperinflation campaign. So did I miss anything there? Does that seem to be where we're at?
I think you hit the nail on the head. And I mean, you can only manipulate or tamp down, or however you want to phrase it, in my opinion, so long, because as you just mentioned, if there's no profit in this industry, then you're going to see supply go down even further. And, the supply chains, those are going to dictate the price. I mean, if people want to develop or we want to electrify the planet, you're going to need goods and commodities, and you can't just bash down the prices of the supplies so that there's no incentive for the producers to keep, not only producing, but also exploring and finding new projects. Where's the incentive to go out and speculate and spend, 10, $15 million developing a new project if, the prices always keep getting smashed down. But again, I think this is all just temporary. I think we got to look at it as, your followers and yourself have created this interesting squeeze in the market. And they're doing their best to fight you guys. But I think really we're just seeing, some temporary downward pressure so they can rotate out of those positions, trim their losses. And when you see them go long, that's when you're going to see both gold and silver prices, in my opinion, start moving to where they should be. And I won't be surprised if in Q4 we're back up in that 2100, 2200 range. And I may be biased, but I still think that's low. I still think it should be a lot higher than that. But I think we got to manage our expectations as silver and gold bulls, because they're not just going to let it run wild, because that'll break their stranglehold they have on the banking system, the entire fiat system. And, they got to cling to that, because that's where all the power is, right?
I would think so. And in fact, interesting question here. If we were, let's say we were making markets back like it did in the trading floor days, which would you say is more likely to occur first? That anyone from the CFTC explains those comments, or that we finally get the audit from Fort Knox?
Oh, man. That's a tough one, because I don't think you're going to get either.
The big leagues today, Kevin. We're not playing around.
That's a trick question. Both of the answers are no on that one. They'll dance around the explanation on this video and what he said on camera. They always do. They'll use, fancy words like transitory to make it sound innocuous. But I don't think you're going to get that audit of the Fort Knox anytime soon, though. So if I had to pick, if you're forcing me to pick, probably the CFTC explaining these comments and explaining how he was mistaken or misunderstood, and what he actually meant was something much less damning than what this is.
Well, it'll be a hoot to see. I actually wrote a letter. It came out to like 27 short pages. There were charts in it, though, if that helps. With all the questions that I get, that I have, that investors have, that company executives responsible for bringing gold and silver to the world have. And, I don't know, was the price tamped down again today? Has it been tamped down at other times? And he talked a lot about transparency. So I wrote a letter with the questions that I have. I put a deadline of close of trading this Friday. And in fact, I think we did track down his email address. And this afternoon, I'm going to send it to him. It's funny because a lot of people have said, well, he's not going to answer, or he's not going to do anything. They're never going to say anything, which is probably right. And then I had another friend said, well, if you send this thing and you say end of close of trading on Friday, that's maybe not enough time for him to answer. And I said, well, I'm not sure I understand that. I mean, some people have been waiting 41 years since the CFTC was part of what happened in 1980. And if they would like to explain their behavior on the record on that, I've been requesting the interview. I don't know if I'm big time enough yet. Now, I did get a former CFTC Commissioner, Bart Chilton, to actually acknowledge plenty of the fraud that Gary Gensler never talked about when he closed his investigation over the same time period, which they found hundreds of thousands of occasions of fraud. So I don't expect that they'll answer, but at least what I did note in my letter that now I've also submitted 2 rounds of evidence. So while he was talking about tamping down things, he also suppressed the evidence, where I'm the only one. I mean, other people understand it, but I explained in great detail how the price of silver falls 10% on the single greatest day of demand by almost any metric I can find. And, but I told them if I don't get an explanation of that, I'm done cooperating with them as the end of this Friday. And actually, Kevin, one thing I would like to show you before we wrap up, and you can give us a couple bullets on Gold Mountain, but I was told that I had not been mentioning this enough yet. We actually about a week or two ago, before taking a tour of the CFTC in Washington, great time, started a GoFundMe where people are already, this isn't tax dollars that is taken with a gun at your head, but that's $23,000 people have raised, committed already. Just, I'm going to find the write up in here somewhere, just for, to get answers to these questions. Why was he, what does it mean tamping down? And it's fine because the money will go to charity if they answer the questions. If not, then as is described in the fundraiser, there's already a legal budget to take legal action. I don't care if they respond. I don't expect they'll respond. I don't know what the response could be. I find when people are in any way involved with a Ponzi scheme, that's why JP Morgan never talks, because when Goldman Sachs brought their guy out to lie, he gave a lot of evidence similar. I don't understand why Rostin Benham can talk about tamping down the market. Yet when I call and ask if they've even reviewed the evidence that explains what they're oblivious to, it's a public investigation. So I just, it's a pleasure to meet you today for the first time, and I have great admiration, respect for people who figure out how to run a business in these conditions. And yeah, that's why I love, I don't have as many mining shares these days because I usually buy options or try and go conservative and buy bullion. But we're going to start loading up on the shares again too, because my belief is that after years of tamping down the price, we're going to see a massive kickback. And I think it will be stunning when it happens. And that's why I continue to do what I do, and appreciate the same with you and what you stand for.
Yeah, Chris, greatly appreciate the opportunity to come here and chat with you today. Huge fan of your work and what you're doing and the awareness that you're bringing. And, look forward to the opportunities like this coming back again and chatting on it more whenever you have time. Yeah,
and perhaps for folks who think that bullion is going to, it's like rock, paper, scissors, who think bullion is going to bust through paper. And can you give them the main bullets of, you've talked a bit about it, but Gold Mountain, what they're looking at there. So if that's the kind of gold exposure that one is interested, they can follow up and get more info from you.
Yeah, I won't go too deep down the rabbit hole with your viewers today, but long story short is this is a project that's produced twice before in the past. Obviously, when gold's been tamped down before, previous operators couldn't make a go of it. What we've done is we've come in with a super lean low capex to start up the mine. We'll be in production. We just received our construction permit, so we're going into construction at the end of May here. We have 2 months of waste rock mining, and then we hit pay dirt in September. And we plan to be delivering ore to our ore purchase partner, New Gold, in October with payables in November. So we'll be taking advantage of hopefully very strong Q4 bullion prices. We have 535 ounces on site. We're actively drilling it out to increase it. But the name of the game here is getting it into revenue and not diluting our shareholders constantly, which is, a bit of a problem sometimes in the junior mining space. The goal here is to get up as lean as possible and then expand with the cash flow from small scale mining and expand the project out in a non-dilutive fashion.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And can you put in perspective, it's, sometimes not fun watching this chart, but I think it's hard. It's sometimes even hard for me to grasp, but even at these current levels, if gold stayed at this price for the next 5 years, a lot of these gold companies are going to be doing pretty well, is my understanding. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, absolutely. When we acquired this property, gold was at $1,250 and the economics made a lot of sense back then. While these gold prices are frustrating to watch, when they're up here at around, 1875, 1800, the economics are fantastic on what we're doing. And then obviously, if this inflation is not just transitory, but sticks around longer, obviously our margin's going to get squeezed, but we're encouraged at the prospects of continued appreciation in both gold and silver prices Gold makes up the bulk of our resource, but about 7 or 8% of it is silver as well, which adds some nice torque to the opportunity, because I think silver's really especially got some exciting months ahead of it. We just got to
That's what I hear.
put up with a little bit of tamping, I guess, for a few more weeks here, but exciting times ahead regardless.
Kevin, bonus points for your excellent usage of the word tamping. Let's play a favorite game before we wrap up. We'll see. I've never had to go below the fold, as they call it in the industry, when I click on CNBC to find a headline that indicates massive money being printed. Let's see what we got today. There you go. Treasury Secretary Yellen says rates, what, may have to rise. Oh my goodness. I am reading my own words. A headline threatening rates rising up. Although, Kevin, fortunately, this is now for a less precise connoisseur of this particular game might be phased, but there you go. Goldman says to buy these 8 stocks ahead of semiconductor boom. Do you think I can buy advertising space, one of these like pop-up things on CNBC that says buy silver, CFTC's been tamping down the price, Goldman got caught lying about it, get your bullion while it's still available? Yara, if you're watching,
I think they might let the ad up for about a minute, but
I want that.
Than that. I think somebody would make a call and you'd be pulled down pretty quick. I'd love to see it though, if you could make it happen.
Oh, well, fortunately, we're having our volunteer committee meeting today. Yara, can you make a note? We want to buy this ad space right on the front of CNBC. Wow, that'd be beautiful. It might even cover Janet's face. Although, Kevin, as I was starting to brag about before we wrap up here, says rates may have to rise somewhat to keep economy from overheating. So it would seem like she's actually saying something hawkish. But look at the wording, may have to rise. We can dig into this one. You find even more magic.
To somewhat. Those are pretty,
that's kind of like
statements.
It's typical weasel phrasing where it doesn't say anything. It may happen. So now you can watch the volatility move up and down. It's not going to happen. And she's actually someone who would know. So now you can get the price to move up, have it come right back down, capture some of the theft via the volatility. And of course, they're just going to print more money anyway. So she lied again. Go figure. But Kevin, I appreciate you playing the game. It's fun. You can do it any day on CNBC, or rather we could stop wasting our time with that, and appreciate you getting gold exposure for folks. Tell them one more time how they can reach you if they have questions, want to get more information. I see there's a newsletter to sign up at the bottom as well.
Yeah, absolutely. You can check us out at gold-mountain.ca. We're also really active on Twitter, Gold Mountain Mining. We follow you very closely and love the work that you're doing, and love what your followers are doing to bring attention to this issue. We're very active on social media. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and then you can always reach out to the company. You can email me direct, ks@goldmountain.ca, or call us direct. My personal phone number is at the bottom of every press release. We like to make sure that we're accessible to our shareholders.
Well, Kevin, I'd be careful. Because you may have a couple thousand new friends who are going to be tweeting you, making tamp down jokes. Although, congratulations if you have a cult following now. I was impressed. Pleasure to meet you. You came from my friend Sean Kunkin, is on my short list of people that they said, Chris, send your money. I can't explain why, but just trust me that I would say, all right, here's the silver. I wouldn't send dollars. I don't have too many of those. I'd send the silver. But he was telling me I need to talk to Jagdeep. And Jagdeep said I need to talk to Kevin. And it's been a blast. And we'll look forward to staying in touch and celebrating when the tamp down is reversed, as the law of unintended consequences and blowback has shown us for centuries and decades and millennia. And it'll be fun to watch, Kevin.
All right. Awesome. Thanks so much for having me, Chris. Really appreciate your time.
All right. Thanks, buddy.